Hello YouTube. Well, I thought I'd share my experiences with the Kobalt 24V Max brushless chainsaw. This kind of came out in the last couple months, and that's actually kind of nice to see since I do have a lot of their other 24V tools, and I liked the idea of the batteries being able to kind of work in all the other tools. Plus I've had pretty good results for kind of my handyman, home handyman plus type of usage. And I've got some property that needs trail work and kind of clearing, and also with another property we had some storm damage or some limbs coming down, so it took the opportunity to pick this up. I have to admit, one of the big elements with it was the price of it at $129 on sale. I think the normal price is $179, but based on $129, I think this is a good value. A little bit about the saw is it's got a 12-inch bar, has a working chain brake, although I didn't really kind of find it would be very useful. I kept kind of ignoring it. Auto oiling, weighs about 7.5 pounds. And a nice point is it comes with a 4 amp hour battery and a charger. So pretty much, this is nice because it's something that can kind of theoretically sit in your garage, and when you need it, you just throw in some bar oil, a fresh battery, maybe sharpen the saw blade, and you're good to go. As I kind of mentioned before, I used it for 2 days. One was cutting up a big limb that came down off of a storm damaged tree. Is about 10 inches wide and had a whole lot of branches. And then the second day I was on my property clearing oak trees, white oak trees that are about 6 to 8 inches in diameter, and then chopping them up into firewood and doing some brush clearing with it. I used 2 batteries with it. I used my 6 amp hour battery that I owned already, and on the first day and part of the second day. And with this, I'd say I got about 60 cuts, which you also got to kind of figure that probably a third of those are the main trunk, so they're big, thick 10-inch cuts, and then the smaller cuts, and then also just kind of brushing off the cuts. The second, with the 4 amp hour battery, which is the one it's sold with, I think I got about 80 cuts with it. And that's kind of like, kind of thinking I've got 40 pieces of firewood, and some miscellaneous brushing. But it's also with kind of white oak, which is a pretty dense wood. All in all, I guess maybe the runtime was about 30 minutes off the 4 amp hour. I think definitely having the 6 amp hour is the way to go. Well, as far as my experience with it, I'll kind of say I definitely think it was at kind of like the limit of what the tool is kind of designed to easily do. I think the biggest issue I had was with this coming loose. Basically, this is the tightener for the bar, and what I would find is kind of running it, I'd kind of be running through maybe 6 or 7 cuts, and then I would either notice that panel had come loose, or I noticed that the chain tension was starting to get looser and looser. Yeah, part of it might be kind of driver error. So I kind of played with it, and I played with the tension of it, and I never did get it to where it stopped working. The other thing too is it is kind of difficult to properly tension. Here's the tensioner here, to properly tension the saw. I'd install the saw bar and the chain, get it in, I'd tension it, I'd tighten it, I'd use it, and I'd have to kind of tension it again. And so I kind of got to a point where I was just kind of constantly kind of checking it. with the saw itself, it takes about, I don't know, 1 or 2 seconds for it to get up to speed. So there's like a little bit of a delay, and there really wasn't much of a variable speed with it. It pretty much was kind of like one speed, but I have to admit it chewed through things pretty well. Um, I really like the weight of it and the portability of it. It's something that was light enough to easily carry in the woods, down, to the backside of my property, up and down hills. I found it very controllable. In a way, the controls are kind of oversized relative to the size of the chain. So I felt very comfortable and confident using it. I've used kind of bigger gas-powered equipment, done some tree falling, done a fair amount of cutting firewood. Yeah, with that, you're hyper aware. With this, I have to admit, I felt a little bit more relaxed with it. And again, I think the other big element for me was the price point at $129. I kind of feel like this is something that for the amount I'm going to use it regularly, which for me is fairly inconsistently, I think it's a pretty good value. One last thing that is kind of bothersome, you can see I have on a piece of cardboard, is, I do notice that no matter how tight you put the cap on the bar oil reservoir, you always get a little weeping coming out. So just kind of be careful with it in your car, or in your truck, or where you store it. Conclusions. I think this would make a great truck saw. Hey, I'm going camping, or I'm not going out running gravel roads, and I just want something in case there's kind of a tree down. This would be great, because you could at least kind of limb a tree. If there's a really big tree, yeah, you're not going to get through like a big 36-inch Doug fir, but you might be able to clear enough to be able to kind of get around it. I think for camping this would be great, because then you can take advantage of bigger deadfall that's down and kind of process it into nice firewood. And and it's basically something you could kind of leave in the truck if you never use it. Great, but it's there when you need it. Trail clearing, I found it really light, very easy to use. Not only would I kind of obviously cut small trees, but just with brush, I just kind of take a sweep at ground level with it, and it would kind of chew through everything. Again, I kind of would use this more for occasional use only. If it was something where I was going to use it a lot, but I still wanted to stay electric, yeah, I'd definitely do something like, like the Makita, or maybe the Milwaukee. That looking at the tools, they definitely have a lot longer longevity of battery life and have better features on them. And I kind of suspect I wouldn't have the issues with the bar kind of rattling off. I think, again, this is a good value, $129. When you think just to have an arborist come out and cut up a tree for you might be a couple $100, where you can kind of go out yourself and kind of whittle away at it. I think it's a good value, especially since it comes with the 4 amp-hour battery and the charger, which, I don't know, I think the battery is probably a $30, $40 battery, plus it's nice having the extra charger. As I kind of said, if I was cutting firewood every year with it, I think I'd definitely invest another couple $100 and get something a little beefier. But for kind of my needs for now, this is great. And quite frankly, I think in the future, if I'm kind of doing a lot more, I might get like a small gas saw, and which I can kind of store dry. But I would still keep this, just because I can basically pick it up in a minute, put in bar oil, put in a fresh battery, and I'm able to use it for short periods of time and not have to deal with gas mixture and everything else. And it seems like the longer gasoline motors sit, the more issues you have with them. So anyway, hope this helps. Take care. Bye-bye.